Next arena. Now we are in the proper lolcow segment. This segment is actually dedicated entirely to the people, the most prominent retards on the internet right now. Anisa Jomha and her loving, doting husband, IDubbbz Jomha, and their currently unfolding misery. So on the last update, they stepped down from their own event. They stepped down from Creator Clash. And I'm very, very convinced that they were forced to step down because they have investors, and investors, I suspect, want their money back. So now the event is being managed by other people, and they are forced not only to sell their share of Creator Clash, they're forced to have nothing to do with it. So they are completely out. They have no input. They have no say on how anything goes. And really, it comes at a really bad time because the event's effectively ruined. The entire it's starting. Creator Clash 3 was supposed to have happened already. It wasn't supposed to be like June 16th, so it'd be by next Friday. But it's obviously not going to happen. Half the roster is gone. The event's canceled. I think they're refunding all the tickets, and it's over. So now the owners, I guess, they're in the hole. My theory is that they're in the hole, and they're trying to figure out how to get out of the hole. So they want to do Creator Clash 3, but because of what Ian and Anisa have done, they have to restart everything. They have to get a new roster together, a new venue, a new time. They have to start from scratch. And the culminations of their bad decisions have resulted in basically everybody they've ever worked with coming out the woodwork to take shots at them. And I'll try to summarize this as succinctly as I can. In particular, the new owners of Creator Clash have come out to try and do some damage control. And to their credit, I guess, they were very nice with Ian and Anisa. They weren't too mean. So they're trying to be cordial about it, even though I'm sure they're not too pleased that everything was ruined by them. I think that this is the video. There's one part in particular that I time-stamped as being very interesting.
Obviously, the first year was crazy successful. There was over $1.3 million raised, and so that was incredible. Second year, we upped the stakes, we made it a little bigger, and unfortunately, it did not pan out in the way that we wanted, and there was no money raised for charity, which was so heartbreaking, especially fighting in it, putting all of that time and energy into doing this thing. And I know for a lot of us, especially you, Alana, you are always doing charity stuff, and to put yourself in the ring to fight, a big reason that we did it was because it was okay, it's for a good cause, it's for charity, and then when you go and do it and no money is raised for charity, that sucks.
Yeah, I've been pretty candid with you about this, Aaron, about how disappointed I was and how burnt I felt by it. And I was talking to a separate fighter who's not in the room about this just yesterday. It was you work so hard. I had a family member who was in the hospital with cancer at the time, and the thing that kept me going, that stopped me from quitting and just going to be with them, was I was this is for charity. You're raising money for charity. You're raising money for a good cause. You got to keep going, and it was so hard. And then when I found out that we didn't, I think I cried. I was so disappointed that it was very difficult to take away positive feelings from the event, even because I was just so crushed by that news. And so when
Ian and Anisa brought that woman to tears. She abstained from seeing a family member in hospital with cancer for the sake of raising money for charity. And Ian and Anisa fucked up so badly that they brought her to tears. Isn't that wonderful, chat? Aren't they just great people? They really, I don't think, have any concept that other people exist. They talk about their immense capacity for empathy, and they really don't seem to give a fuck about anybody else. It just seems to be about what they want to do. They want to be the super cool Creator Clash people that have the big charity boxing event, and they're such great people, and they're doing all these great things, and they're so wonderful, and everybody has to like them. And they really just seem to be completely narcissistic freaks, despite toting their championship level empathy levels. They're just such assholes. Um, this was a clip that came out in the podcast after this came out. They took a little bit of a hiatus after they left Creator Clash because they knew that they would get completely raped in the comments. And then this happened, and this little exchange happened.
Very quickly,
Yeah.
love them. I was very stressed about Creator Clash too. They told me to take this edible before bed to help me sleep. I did. I slept. I had a dream where I remembered that I didn't label any of the gloves, which is really bad because they have to take the gloves and then distribute them before the fights. So they need to know whose gloves belong to who. So I woke up in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. and I was like, holy fucking shit. Like, I did not do that. So I rushed to the elevator because the office was in the hotel. And I'm in the elevator and I start feeling drool leaking down the one side of my face. So I thought I was having a stroke. I totally forgot that I had taken an edible. I go into the office panicked. I'm like, I think I'm having a stroke or whatever. I'm trying to ignore it because I have medical anxiety.
His face always reminds me of the Easter Island statue. I know I say that every time I look at him, but I'm just looking at this guy and I just hear that Vine sound effect in my head, that just constantly. Like, he looks like he's just frozen in shock and terror, contemplating his life. I will say this: there's something else that obviously I'm going to talk about because it's already old news, but I get to give my takes too, chat. I thank you for being here and indulging me, allowing me to pretend I have an audience. Oh, I wonder what Josh thinks about this drama from 3 weeks ago. Thank you, chat. I feel seen. I feel heard. I feel listened to. I listened to the big thing that most of you have probably already heard now. And my takeaway from it was that Ian wants to be in this relationship. And I think this is the hardest thing to swallow, is that, people like to pretend that Anisa is this horrible cunt that has used demon succubus powers to ruin his life. And it's really not so complex. It's really not so complicated. IDubbbz is getting something from this relationship. And I know he is because he's in it. Men are not guilt-tripped into a relationship. Never. Men will wake up one day, 25 years into a marriage, in their 50s, with 4 kids, and think, fuck this shit. And then they'll open their relationship and start doing cocaine. That's what a man does. Sometimes men just lose their fucking mind and say, I'm buying a red Mustang, I'm doing cocaine, and I'm fucking bitches. And if you guys want to come along with me on this ride, you can. If not, fuck you, I'm leaving. That's what men do. Men are very unreliable in relationships. It's kind of hard to build a foundation on them. And if IDubbbz did not enjoy being with Anisa, he would not be with Anisa. I think that there's 2 things happening here. I think that number one, he enjoys being bossed around because he knows that he's a fuck up. He knows that everything is fucked up. But the thing is, in his mind, it's not his fault. Because Anisa runs his life and tells him what to do and tells him to take care of himself, if anything bad happens now, he bears no responsibility for it. Everyone just blames Anisa. Nobody says, hey, Ian fucked up. They say Anisa fucked up because she runs the show. And they know that she runs the show. And he knows that they know that she runs the show. So therefore, he doesn't have any accountability. And he enjoys that. He enjoys being a passenger in his own life and being told what to do and being forgiven for anything that happens as a consequence because he's not responsible for it. He enjoys that. That's what he gets out of this relationship. I also think, and I know people point to the fact that she's his first actual love interest. She's the first woman he's ever been with seriously. She's the first person that he had sex with. She's the first real relationship he's been in. And there's a naivety to it, and that is correct. I think that if you have a first relationship and it's a very difficult relationship, one of the things that you really learn when you get out of it is that it's so much easier than you imagine Like, if you're in an on and off again thing that lasts for years and it's really tumultuous, and then you like actually manage to break it off and you get with somebody else, you're like, holy fuck, this is so much simpler. But if it's your first girlfriend or whatever, you just like, I guess this is just what it's like to be in a relationship. And then you have another relationship and like, oh my fucking God, what was I doing? I wasted so much time. I put myself through so much bullshit for no fucking reason. What the fuck was I thinking? And I think that IDubbbz, he needs to learn this. He needs to realize that the pain he experiences on a day-to-day basis is not normal. And it's not required of him to be in a relationship. He's just in a bad relationship. And he doesn't know that. That's the one thing, like, don't get me wrong. It is his responsibility at the end of the day. And you can't just blame everything on Anisa, despite her being so awful. But it is a thing where it's like, you learn it with experience. That, yeah, it's not supposed to be this way, brother. You're not supposed to. Now it's like a sunk cost fallacy. It's like, well, my life's already fucking over. What am I gonna do? Just break up with her? Like, yeah. You know, if you're like a 70-year-old grandmother and you're unhappy within your relationship, you know, you can still break up. Especially if you're a 70-year-old grandmother, because what, you ain't got kids to take care of anymore. You can have a divorce if you want to. If that's immoral, it's between you and God. You better pray, I guess. But never too late to get the fuck out of that shit. We'll see. So next, Anisa. Let's see. So this was an update on the Creator Clash thing. We actually got an explicit clarification on how much money Anisa and IDubbbz made. They got 34%, so more than a third, from the first Creator Clash. And my understanding is that Creator Clash 1 took home gross $1.5 million. So $500,000, I think, went straight to IDubbbz. I don't have the exact numbers, but it was a multi-million-dollar figure that they took away from. That's that. LA Beast dropped out of the fight. This was on the 29th. He says, due to a laundry list of reasons that will be revealed to you shortly, I unfortunately will no longer be boxing glove emoji, in the Creator Clash event. It is the best decision for me and my team at this time. All I wanted to do is put on a show, get paid, and ultimately raise money for charity. Unfortunately, that's not how it worked out. Sometimes plans fall through, and you've got to pick up the pieces and continue to move forward. That's what I'm going to do. LA Beast was one of the big ticket events, and he's out. Freddie Wong also dropped out, and people figured that out because he was simply removed from the card on the website, just taken off. Then Anisa and Ian decided to get into a slap fight with Donut Operator. This guy says Anisa joins her husband in calling out Donut Operator after he exposed the reason IDubbbz stopped talking to them. That is this video right here.
So like he went to a range day with me one time. Like we used to talk a lot about content creation and stuff. And COVID rolls around, I get bored at home, so I make an OnlyFans where I'm showing my meat.
Really?
And, well, basically, I'm taking a steak and I'm rating a steak. And like,
see, that's the reaction that you're supposed to have. Genius.
I thought it was funny. So I'd be wearing like just an apron. Of course, I'm wearing like boxers underneath. And I'd reach down and be like, this is my OnlyFans. And this is an A5 Wagyu from down the street. And I would talk about it. And I sent it to Ian, and he got mad and called me and like said I was making fun of Anisa, and like I wasn't.
Oh,
I just thought it was a funny bit because I was sitting at home during COVID. And
you'll never understand what it's like to be an ally.
Yeah, it was he like said
that.
stuff like that, and yeah, just like haven't talked to him since. That was like 5 years ago.
Over that?
Yeah, and I've like texted him and tried to reconnect with him. He just won't talk to me anymore.
By the way, that's like textbook domestic abuser. I know people don't like that when you talk about women being abusers, but that's that kind of social isolation shit. I don't know. My opinion is like he likes it. He likes it, chat. But technically that would be a abusive thing. He tried to clap back on this, by the way. His first thing was, conveniently leaving out that your GF at the time was pursuing OnlyFans, but you were too pussy to deal with the criticism, so you made a parody account. No, I don't want to be friends with a coward. So apparently Donut Operator makes bad penis decisions as well, and he fucked an OnlyFans prostitute. And when he got shit for it, his idea of dealing with it was just to make like a joke where he did his own OnlyFans showing off his meat. So apparently that's cowardice in IDubbbz and not being a real ally. Then his other clapback, this one from Anisa, saying, he also took us to a gun show where a child accidentally fired a gun that was loaded on a sales table into a crowd, and everyone nonchalantly said indie in unison like it wasn't a big deal. So Donut Operator actually clarified and said that they were not at a gun show. They were at a range. So people were much more chalant about it because the ND was downrange. It was not just a gun in a gun show being fired off into the fucking air like a cowboy. So she doesn't understand the difference between a gun show and a gun range, probably because she's Canadian and retarded. So apparently this did happen. Then Brandon Herrera was blocked by her. He wanted to respond, set the record straight, and she said block. Then Froggy Fresh, who is a fighter from Creator Clash 1, he was kicked off the card against his will because it turned out, I think what happened is that Froggy Fresh was trained by Samuel Hyde. Samuel Hyde, of course, being a infamous comedian that Ian does not much care for. In particular, his wife, Anisa, does not much care for Mr. Hyde. And when the news came out that Froggy Fresh was being trained by Mr. Hyde, that really shook them to their core and made them fear for their lives. So Froggy Fresh was kicked off of the card. Many years later, as Froggy Fresh is a bit of a shit stirrer, his wife, and I think we verified that this was his wife joined the Kiwi Farms and posted some deets. In particular, she says, one last petty thing before I go, Ian stinks really bad. Straight up body odor. One of the worst smelling people I've ever had to sit next to. Walking behind him, you're getting a whiff. I don't care about saying this now because they've shown their cruelty has no boundaries and it's not hard or expensive to put on some deodorant. To clarify, he stunk when we went out with him, not in a gym setting. I hope you both get sued into oblivion and lose everything. Remember, only rich assholes sue for shit talking. So, the rumor came up again. This has been, I can't remember how this started, but it has been a rumor for a while now that Ian stinks. He stinks. He's got BO. He doesn't bathe, chat. And then Froggy Fresh's wife confirmed the rumor, saying that he does in fact stink. And then, during a subsequent thing, which these are the cliff notes of, it was confirmed yet again that Ian stinks, like notably stinks. And I have a theory for this. This is actually what informed my prior theory, where I said that Ian likes to not be accountable for his own life. Is that when they started talking about how he stinks, it lined up with the fact that Anisa would also make statements about when he was tired and hungry. Apparently, IDubbbz does not ever speak for himself. And Anisa will be like, oh, he's tired, we have to go to bed now. Or, he's hungry, let's go out to eat. And he will never say, I am hungry or I am tired on his own. And it made me realize that he probably also doesn't say, I feel like I should have a shower, I'll be right back. Anisa has to be the one to tell him, brush your teeth and take a shower. So he is willing to give up, he is so willing and so eager to have no accountability for his own life. He's actually willing to forego basic hygiene in order to give more responsibility and control over to Anisa. And he shits himself, that's right. So that's what's going on. And if it were a situation where he's doing this involuntarily, that is textbook abuse. But I have a feeling he likes it. All right, so here's the big thing. This is Ian's coach from Creator Clash 1 and also 2, I want to say. He joined the H3 podcast to give out all the hot goss on IDubbbz. and there's a very specific reason that he did so. And I'll just play these clips, at least the shorter ones, and summarize the ones that I know are probably too long for this stream.
Kate, what did you do for Creator Clash?
I traveled with Ian and Anisa along with Michael, and I did all the recording for all the sparring sessions, all the meetups with all the YouTubers, even small interviews with like Eric, who also fought on CC1. So I have a ton of content, and Ian promised us that he was going to put out this documentary that was going to share the journey of how Michael took this video game nerd and turned him into a boxer. And so that's how they sold it to us when they first came to us. And so I was super psyched that this is going to be a way for me to help build my husband's brand and also put the work out there. But it never came through. And so when he most recently put that video out saying that he told a big lie and he was never going to put out a documentary, and all he has is a ton of 4K videos of him doing stupid shit or something like that, it was actually very hurtful to me.
That's your footage that he's talking about your footage.
Yeah, exactly. 3 years. Yeah, 3 years of filming.
Wow.
Yeah, well.
So she was there to record footage for him. And apparently one of the big triggering events for this was that Anisa had made an offhanded comment that they had stupid footage of him. And that was actually supposed to be like a proper documentary that she spent like tons and tons of hours actually filming. So she was like personally slighted by that.
For dynamic filming, I usually charge $150 an hour for dynamic filming. But because I was under the impression that this is going to charity, me and Michael, would always scale back on charging them. So, for example, instead of charging him $150 an hour, I would charge him $100 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, I've heard that from other professionals now. I'm starting to hear people say that like one of the announcers put out a video recently. Maybe you guys saw it. He was like, Wade? Yeah, he was like, they offered me a salary or they offered me payment, but I declined it because I was like, it's for charity. I'm good. But then they took that money that he generously forfeit, a guy who's not rich, by the way, and gave it to all the fucking creators. It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's always funny when H3 gets really upset about money. Like when people start telling them how they're fuck ups with money and finances, he gets like really, really personally upset. Like, why what do you mean they didn't charge the full price? What do you mean they did a discount for charity? And it was a lie. It was a lie for the money. And he's like actually affected. Like the poor money was just taken, chat. It's taken. I'll put this up a little bit higher speed.
There's all these interesting little details that you guys shared with me. For example, one being that I think it was you, Kate, that mentioned that he and Anisa did in fact pay for Hassan and all of his compadres to travel to and stay at Creator Clash 2.
Yes.
Yeah, so they were talking about that long before, about how they had to fly in all these people. First of all, they rented the hotel for over 300 creators and flew a lot of them in. When the first year, it was much more scaled back. We just had a couple floors of like some place, like a nice suite place, but it wasn't extravagant at all. And then the second year, they did that full hotel for 300 creators. They flew a lot of people in. One of the people they flew in was Fraudy Tonic, and they flew him in from France.
That's insane.
And Fraudy had told us that he was there to salvage the documentary.
Yeah.
And that was super offensive to us because we're like, what do you mean salvage the documentary? And he said his job was to go around and like film Anisa having interactions with everyone. So we didn't know if that meant they were going to make the second documentary about or the actual documentary about how like Anisa was responsible for the event, because she did put a lot of work in for the first event and she did put a lot of work in for the second. But at the same time, in the first event, she didn't get credit for it. So she felt like she deserved all the credit. So I think that's why they paid Fraudy Tonic to come film her and follow her around for the second event. But yeah, they flew in a lot of people. They rented out the whole hotel for 300 creators. And when we asked them if Ian's dad was going to be there, because he was there for the first event, they said they couldn't afford to fly Ian's dad in. It was too expensive.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty sad. And Fraudy Tonic told me directly, because I met him at the hotel, right, where we were all staying at in Tampa for CC2. And he was like, oh, you're the videographer that has all the content of Ian sparring. And I said, yes, I'm super excited. I've been waiting for this documentary, but it never came out. So I heard that you're taking it over now and you're gonna help with the editing. And that's when Fraudy Tonic told me that, yeah, Ian and Anisa brought out his whole crew from France.
His whole crew?
I think it was just him.
Well, he had a few people that were holding the cameras, his camera guys. Because the interesting thing was that usually when like someone is a videographer, they would be the one filming most of the time. But it was interesting to me that
he was just directing?
Yeah, he was more directing.
What this fucking guy thinks he's Spielberg?
Scorsese.
What the hell's going on?
People with him that were actually doing the work.
I don't remember that, but I do remember for a fact that he had told us that he was flown in to salvage the documentary. Anyway, so we were just offended by that because we were like, what do you mean salvage the documentary? And then him saying that he had no idea how to make the documentary for the first event. I had taken him from like 140 pounds as like never played a sport a day in his life. 10 months later, he ends up fighting Dr. Mike in front of over 10,000 people with 100,000 pay-per-view buys. And the fight itself was like a rocky moment. And then he literally took interviews with everyone before the fights, after the fights. He got all the coaches to interview. And then he said he had no way to make the documentary. So I was just like, how can you not make it?
Yeah.
AB made a documentary.
Everybody made a documentary.
AB, Harley, I was in their documentaries, but I wasn't in Ian's documentary.
What the fuck?
Which is crazy because the whole arrangement that they had, by the way, is that this guy would train him for cheap. And the idea is that he would start his business, and this is what Ian agreed to. He would start his business through being known as the boxing coach for IDubbbz. And IDubbbz made no effort whatsoever to support him. Did not allow him to make the documentary, to show behind-the-scenes training. Made no effort to actually participate in the boxing event to make it successful. I'll skip this clip, but the guy basically says that IDubbbz didn't even want to be there. he was like a little kid being brought into like a gym class he didn't want to be a part of, and was just like, why are you even here? You know, you're an adult. You can just not do this if you don't want to. And apparently at some point he did. He did just decide to not participate at all and not show up for training, which additionally made this guy who was spending his time and money and effort, you know, helping IDubbbz get into shape, look even worse because he wasn't prepared to fight. This is just, apparently Anisa, even though she didn't fight in the second one, she was taking like half the time that IDubbbz was supposed to be boxing, and instead of paying him, you know, more money for having two people to train, she just took up his time, and and that's it. Also, they didn't get paid, so I think there was supposed to be like a 5,000. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was like a 4 or 5 figure thing. I think it was $5,000 of bonus money that they were supposed to receive, and IDubbbz gave so little of a shit about actually compensating his coach that he promised he would help start his business. He supported him. He just stiffed him $5,000. So AH3 pays this guy $5,000 just on the spot, just to show how generous he is, because with Jews you win, chat. And it really is some of the most expensive $5,000 ever, because apparently before he got on stream, by the way, IDubbbz had ignored his text messages, and the text messages are important, like the last conversation they had. But then after he heard the news that the coach was going to be on H3, IDubbbz finally decides to respond to the messages he had left unread years after the fact and be like, please don't do this. Please don't do this. And so if we can work something out, I think is what he said. Please don't do this. We can work something out. However, there was nothing to be worked out. The Hmong wife had already made up her mind that she was going to kill IDubbbz. Like a Maryland blue crab, just cut off his face mercilessly. I guess I'll play this one. This one's kind of embarrassing.
So, Ian almost has this superpower. Maybe it's Anisa together, but they say great leaders inspire loyalty. It seems that everybody in his life, he's forced to be disloyal. He has like negative leadership. What do you call that? What is negative leadership?
Abuse.
Abuse? Okay.
Yes.
So you think it's so I guess quantify that. Did you feel like abuse? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, the reason why I say it's abusive is because, like, for example, the bonus, right? They mentioned it to me, Michael, that they're going to give a bonus after CC1. And then after the event was so great, they just went rogue on us, you know? It's interesting because we invite them to our house for Thanksgiving. We're so nice to them. We open up our lives to them. They've met my kids, like our kids, you know, and everything. But then once the work is done and they don't need us, they kind of just put us at bay and they make it uncomfortable for us to reach out to them.
I just realized... I didn't notice this the first time. She said my kids. She has 2 kids from another marriage, and it's actually a tragic story. So it's not just like she just, had a divorce or whatever. I will explain that. But she said my kids, and then she corrected herself and said our kids, because I guess I'm not sure if they have kids together too, but she has 2 other kids from another relationship, and I don't know if she like intentionally tried to exclude him from that parentship.
Or if we reach out to them, they don't respond. So treating us like we're not really in their inner circle, which makes no sense because we worked with them for CC1, CC2. Michael and I have traveled with them to LA, Vegas, Florida. Keep in mind that when we were in Florida with them, we were with them for 2 to 3 weeks at a period of time. That's a long time to be with someone. You learn so much about the person. And then you start to realize, wow, everything that, I mean, I don't want to say, you know, their enemy's name, what's his name? Sam? Like, I don't want to say he's right, but when we saw that video,
No, he's right. You can say it.
They're enemies.
The one where he's like, well, hold on. So there's a video of Sam Hyde, and he goes, she's going to ruin his life. Mark my words. I guarantee it. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, Anisa was the one that showed it to us because we didn't know nothing.
What was funny too is like,
I mean, I was just thinking about that on the way to work because I saw that clip too. And I was like, damn, like Sam fucking, he was right.
Yeah.
Well, so what's crazy to me is like, so for example, when Ian did your show for Creator Clash 2, he would never say my name. He'd always just go Ian's coach or my coach. And then AB was the one that actually had to say my name. AB was like, oh, you mean Michael? And then I was like, thank you, AB. Appreciate you. But so, and then same thing when he did the other podcast, he said, oh, my coach is he's really tough. He has toxic masculine qualities.
Wait, when did he say that?
He said that when he was talking to
when he did the podcast
with the Smosh guy. Yeah. So he did that and he said,
what?
oh my.
He's lost his mind. I'm sorry, but if anybody deserves to have toxic masculine traits, it's your boxing coach, okay? Get in line, bitch. You know what I mean? Go fucking wake up and run. Think about, you remember Mike Tyson's coach, this like grumpy, insane old man? Like, this is who you want to fucking coach you, dude. What are you talking about?
By the way, after this video, I read through the IDubbbz Reddit, and there was a commenter who was like, H3 is such a piece of shit. It's never okay to have toxic masculinity. Like, that was an actual comment that someone had left in support of IDubbbz as a result of this conversation. Oh, sir, the coach can be toxic masculine. IDubbbz cried because the coach yelled at him, so he cried, and that was a big part of that. It's long-winded, 6 minutes. So this is her complaining about the documentary again. A bit, like I said, a big part of this was supposed to be the documentary coming out and showing this guy and his coaching and how he's a great coach because his wife had been encouraging him. Like, this guy is a bit of a dummy, and he was just more than happy for like the last 10 years to be a boxing coach at some other guy's gym. And his wife is like, honey, you must be a successful businessman. Go out into business for yourself. I will help you become boxing coach. So he was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start a business. And IDubbbz was a part of that, where it's like, okay, look, I'll coach you. I'm an experienced, seasoned, professional boxing coach. This is literally my job. And I will take you from being a doughy piece of dumpy ass, and I will turn you into a Greek god. This is as long as you follow my instructions. This is what I will do for you. But you have to publish let my wife do a documentary so we can self-promote, and then you have to advertise for me as well. And IDubbbz Anisa just completely undermined them. And I don't know. I assume this is going to be in the clip afterwards, but I'll just spoil this and skip over it later. Despite them inviting Ian and IDubbbz into their house for Thanksgiving and shit, because apparently the Hmong woman, she made like a turkey for the first time just for Ian and Anisa. There were certain things. It was like the post-show event in Creator Clash 2. Ian was sad that his friends that he invited to Creator Clash didn't have anything to do after the event was over. So they made sure to have like a whole party for all the Hasana B people to come hang out with the boxers after the event. They called it the gala. And IDubbbz did not invite his coach. So they had this big after party with all these YouTube influencers. And his coach that was giving him basically next to nothing free training was simply not invited. Was not even informed of there being a gala. So that they wouldn't have hurt feelings until way after the fact, I guess. This is about the bad breath. Okay, yeah, I'll play.
Now, I want to ask you something. It's alleged by Anisa herself that Ian has both bad breath and he shits in his pants frequently.
That's right.
Do you have
oh my god, earlier in the stream I was like, how did that rumor about him having terrible BO start? Duh. Fucking Anisa openly talks about how much he stinks on stream. She was the one that started that rumor.
Any data on that? Having been in close proximity with him?
No.
So I don't want to just talk shit about him, but like there would be times, for example, before the first event, where he was talking about getting tonsil stones, and he was saying he was going to get strep throat because he had tonsil stones. Ew. And I said, Ian, tonsil stones don't cause strep throat. Tonsil stones are because you're not brushing your fucking teeth. And so he was like, oh, okay, hygiene. And I'm like, yeah, fool, like you need to brush your teeth. And he's like,
wait, hold on. That shouldn't be something you need to hear from your boxing coach. Brush your teeth. That's something, that's it, knowledge he should have come to you with.
Yeah, yeah. He was worried about getting sick. Like, so, yeah. So,
was it Creative Clash 1 or 2 where Anisa sent us? It was a day of training.
I don't know if you guys. I feel like I should explain this. A tonsil stone is like a clump of bacteria that grows in the back of your throat when you don't do oral hygiene correctly, and you cough it up like a cat. It's the worst smelling thing ever. If you've ever smelled a tonsil stone, it's like the worst fucking thing ever. And if you don't like brush those out, it just sits in the back of your throat, and it's the most disgusting fucking thing ever, and it makes your breath smell like shit. If you ever meet somebody who has tonsil stones and coughs these fucking things out, they're actually vile beyond belief.
For one of the
There was a kid, there was a kid in my middle school class named Devin who had BO, and this was one of his things. He had tonsil stones, and he hacked one of these fucking things out, and it is like, it knocks you off your fucking feet. It is the most disgusting fucking thing in the entire fucking world.
CC1 or 2, I can't remember which one. And she sent us a photo of his tongue. And
Oh,
she said,
no.
I think he might have like bad breath and it's causing.
she said tonsil stone.
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. Go back. Why did she send you a picture of his tongue?
They thought it would show us that he was going to get strep throat.
Yeah, so he couldn't.
And I'm like, because they were trying to say he's going to get sick before the event. And it can happen if you train too hard before an event. You run your immune system down, so then you can get sick. But we weren't training too hard for him to get sick.
Yeah.
So for example, like they wanted him to gain weight, and I kept telling him, like, there's ways we can gain weight right before weigh-in. So I want you at like a healthy weight, because they wanted him to be 188 for the Dr. Mike fight. So the Sunday before the fight, Anisa makes him eat all this shitty food. So the Monday before the fight, he couldn't even do 2 rounds of pads in the ring without almost throwing up. So I'm fucking pissed. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why are you doing this? I was telling you, if you're 188 or 180, but you drink like a couple Gatorades, a Gatorade is 32 ounces, which is 2 pounds. I'm like, just drink 2 or 3 Gatorades right before weigh-ins, and you'll gain like 4 or 5 pounds, and then you'll be 185. But instead she was like, no, he needs to eat all this shitty food. So they were feeding him all bunch of shit. Right? And that's why when he weighed in with Dr. Mike, he was like grabbing his belly. And I'm like, bro, that's embarrassing for me.
You're making
I'm your fucking coach, and you're in there with a belly up there. Like, it's one thing to gain the weight and be like, oh, I gained weight. But it's another thing to be like the day before the fight grabbing your belly. And it's because you fucking ate a bunch of bad food.
Yeah, they would
like,
get Denny's all the time, and then he would.
Denny's? Yeah, this is important. I'm accused all the time of people say that they see me in Denny's farting. They say that about me, and I want them to. I never go to Denny's. I never go out to Denny's. But Ian's the one who's actually shitting his pants at Denny's.
Yes. The meeting that we had right after Alex Ernst's fight, sparring session, was at Denny's.
Yeah.
Say that again. I'm sorry. Say that again.
The meeting that we had to have with Ina and Nisa after the sparring session with Alex Ernst was at Denny's.
What did they eat at Denny's? What did they order?
Just like disgusting.
But she loved it because she used to work there back in the day. And I was in my mind, I'm like, Ian, you're a fucking millionaire. Why are you eating at Denny's all the time? Like, stop it.
He's allegedly, I've heard Hila noticed this, and I guess Anisa also confirmed that he's very cheap, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't experience that. Like, he was always good to me, but at the same time, except for the fact he would never help promote me.
Well, I could say that I wonder if, like, this is a good example, but, like, for example, when Michael trains Ian, he charges $100 an hour, but Anisa would always want to be trained at the same time, so Michael is training both of them for $100 an hour, and I would always tell Michael, like, you're training both of them, you should charge each one of them $100 an hour, and Michael would be like, oh, well, it's for a charity event, and I feel bad asking, so let's just do it for now, because we're going to get a bonus one day.
I cannot even think of the last time I've eaten at a Denny's. There's nothing at a Denny's I'd ever want. You know what I mean? But if you want like shitty breakfast food, I'd either get IHOP or I would get that's the other one, Waffle House. Waffle House is that Gucci Mang slop. You walk in, this is what you do, chat. You go to Waffle House and you say, I want a double order of hash browns, smothered, covered, chunked, diced, and peppered. Then you grab that bottle of ketchup and you drown those fuckers in that ketchup, chat. That's how you eat at Waffle House. And it should be 4 a.m. You should be somewhat drunk, and there should be black people arguing somewhere. This is the ideal eating experience. There's a sort of bliss at a Waffle House at 4 a.m. where you're drunk and you're eating your double order of hash browns, smothered, covered, chunked, diced, and peppered. And as you're sitting there listening to black people argue, you know, when black people argue, it's like a little Tasmanian devil thing. They're very dynamic and running around, and they might even involve you. I remember one time I went to a gas station. There was like it was like 4 a.m. and I was drunk. And the black guy, like, I don't know why, but I think he was pressing me. He said something to me. He was like, what's up? But like in a really black way. I was drunk and I just looked at him like one eye half closed and I'm like, nothing much, man. And I walked into this very, very black gas station to get some Gatorade. I desperately craved Gatorade. I don't know. You become blacker and more able to socialize with black people when you are intoxicated, and you can eat your hash browns unmolested at a Waffle House when you have when you have alcohol and, and you all right, next. Let's see what we got. His body odor. This is what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear about the BO, man. I mean that BO.
Do you have any
talk.
commentary about his potential body odor?
I mean, I say it's true. I smell all the time. It's horrible. A good example is this, because Michael's so nice and doesn't want to say it, but here's the thing. When we're in fight camp, he does 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening, okay?
For the first fight he did. Well,
Yeah, well,
for the first part of the first fight, not for the actual camp.
Correct.
During the camp was when he cut out his 2 days. And that was the most important time to be doing 2 days.
Yes, so he would smell so bad that when he comes back in the afternoon to train, he doesn't shower in between his sessions. And so like the coaches that are training other, members there would just like look at us with the weirdest face, like a stink face. And then Michael would try to take Ian to the corner where there's not a lot of members of the gym, so they don't have to smell it.
I tried to take the open doorway.
Yeah, so that does happen. I'm not lying. It's true. He doesn't shower.
Yeah. I just didn't understand why she wouldn't tell him. I'm like, what is going on here?
So, and
She tells the audience. She humiliates him
in her Discord. She's fine releasing everything, but she won't talk to him about it. I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah. And
like, I didn't feel like
guys, I got to sit on that for a sec. He stunk up the gym so bad you had to move him away from people.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just sit with that.
0.5 hotter, as if like he fucking his breath didn't stink all the time.
Yep.
Another question.
They're just like they're like randomly putting like H3. He's like in a Denny's, and then out the window of like a drive-through or whatever. He just keeps teleporting around, but he's always in a chair. So it's kind of like the guy from like Sparky from C-Lab. He's just always in his chair, no matter what he's doing. Inez is a shitty Muslim. Yeah, we fucking know. They were scared to put out the documentary, the second one, because Anisa failed so bad. Ian was left to deal with the consequences, to all the embarrassing crap and drama. Anisa had Thanksgiving dinner with her coaches and went silent on them. Radio. Michael went to hell with Ian and has no relationship. I think this is important because he sounds really... I think this is the part where he actually sounds really affected by how badly Ian treated him.
That because like I think for the first fight it could have made a great documentary, but I think for the second one they were scared to put out that Anisa did all this work because it failed so badly. She wasn't even part of when he did his charity, when he did his charity stream, or not, I won't even call it charity, when he did his fundraiser stream, because it wasn't charity, it was fundraiser. So when he did his fundraiser stream, I don't even think she was really a part of it, and it was like a lot of this thing failed because you were the person in charge, but now when Ian has to make up for it, she was nowhere to be found. And he was like doing embarrassing things. As a boxing coach, you don't want to see your client doing those things under those circumstances. It'd be
keep
different.
The pride up. Keep the self-respect up.
Literally, because that's on my, and once again, that's what I was telling him. I was like, a lot of what you do reflects my brand. So when he attacked you, all of a sudden, I start getting all these messages on all my stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why am I getting all this? Like, one, we were getting views again on some of the like old, because I haven't put anything on YouTube for a long time, and all of a sudden I had a video of us at the AM of the Creator Clash, and all of a sudden there's just all these bad comments on it, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I find out, and that's when we find out that he created the drama with you, and that's when we found out all these other things, and that's why we were like, I'm gonna get my side of the story out there, because one, I'm not affiliated with him unless, like, except for training that 10 months the first time and the 4 or 5 months the second time. Otherwise, like, we have no affiliation.
Yeah.
We'd invite him to Thanksgiving dinner. He came once. Like when I went to LA,
Thanksgiving dinner at your house?
I made a turkey for my first time, and it was a special Thanksgiving because it was.
You had turkey for the first time?
Yeah,
what have you been waiting for? Oh, you made it.
I made it. Yeah, so I made the turkey for the first time. It was a super special Thanksgiving because Michael and I had just moved in together. So we decided that we were going to get married. And not only that, but Michael's dad passed, and so that Thanksgiving was super special. I've never made a turkey my entire life. I put it together. I figured it out. We live in a small 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and I had to go buy extra tables and chairs. So there'd be room for me, Michael, my 2 sons, and my friend, and Ian and Anisa to sit. And we went out of our way to do all this for them. And they just treat us like we're just, I don't know, gone with the wind.
Yeah, so, but what I was saying about that was like, I would invite them out to do stuff and almost never get a response. And then when I was in LA, like I hit up AB and he's like, yeah, let's go out to dinner.
No,
and I'm
AB's
like,
such a good guy.
Yeah. I'm like, so AB's willing to go out to dinner.
But Baby likes you. I think he wanted to spend time with you.
Yeah, but my own fighter didn't. And it broke my heart all the time because, like, so there's a coach named, like, Mike Quick Flores, and he's amazing. And his fighters loved him. They helped him start a damn YouTube channel. They bought him cameras. They helped him start a YouTube channel. They did all this stuff for him. And, like, one of his fighters was, like, James Odwin's out. That got knocked out in, like, freaking 30 seconds. And he still loves training with the coach. So I'm like, how does somebody that get knocked out in 30 seconds have such a close relationship with his coach? And I, like, went to hell with Ian, and we have no relationship.
Yeah.
Tragic, chat. It hurt his feelings. His feelings were hurt. Anisa a bitch. We don't know that. Anisa was mean to Ian. We know that. They call him anti-Semitic. That's not. They speculate if he has an abuse fetish or if he's just really pathetic. I already speculated on that. They shit talk Graham Stephan, who I don't know, and the money YouTuber who is a money YouTuber who is Jewish, so they didn't like him because he's Jewish. They were offended by a hoe joke. That's not particularly interesting. Ian behaved normally without Anisa. That's too long for that, but they said that when there was a couple days where she had to go do stuff with her family, and when he was separated from her, he behaved like a normal person. So they kind of speculate that she's evil. Talk about the content cop and how they were shocked that it was supposed to be H3. Which, I mean, it was obvious. It was just like, he's promoting your shit. Why would you go after him? They eventually asked Ian to help them start a business by having him co-sign a loan as a guarantor. And granted, this is like a really, I would never recommend anybody co-sign a loan of somebody because it's a bad idea. But Ian's response was like, in no world can I help you. So he was like extremely mean about it for no particular reason. Okay. How much of this is okay? I'll just let this play out and then I will add anything that's missing.
I'm not done because Kate, I wanted to ask you. You brought up when we were chatting a bit before the show. I brought up your work on some really interesting activism where you were.
Yes.
This is not interesting. It's really shocking and sad that you yourself were a child bride.
Yes. So I'm a child bride survivor, and at the age of 12, I was put into a child marriage from the time I was 12 until 23. Within my child marriage, I had 2 kids when I was 15 and 17. And this happened in America, okay? And Ian and Anisa are well aware of my story because I've had them at my home. They've seen my kids and everything. And so last year, right, 2024, I learned that there was a House bill in Washington State trying to pass House Bill 1455 to end child marriage. And so when I learned of this bill, I thought to myself, even though it had been 15 years since I escaped my prison, like, this is a chance for me to come forward and tell my story. I sent, so Michael and I went to Olympia in Washington. We met with politicians. We lobbied to support the bill. I gave my public testimony to support the bill. And, I was on Seattle Times and television and everything. And I reached out to Ian and Anisa and I asked them if they could help, share the information because it was really important to me that this bill passed. And they just both left me on red. But guess what? Today, when they saw the highlights on Ian's story that we were going to be on here, Anisa was texting me and Michael, and they were like,
they ignored us when we were like trying to fight child marriage. But then when they found out,
are they pro child marriage?
Yeah,
take a hard stance.
That's why it makes one. Begs the question. Wait, so how? And if you're uncomfortable talking about this, refrain. But it sounds. How did you get married at 12?
So basically, in Washington State, there's no law to prevent parents from marrying their children. So as long as there's a parental consent, then the judge on it and it happens, it could just marry a child at the age of 2.
What?
Yes, and also I want to imply that I also want to let you guys know that last year, after Michael and I worked so hard in Olympia in Washington to pass the bill was passed in March of last year, and the bill was signed by the governor at the end of March.
Wow, that's amazing.
A lot of people didn't know this. I think I even talked about this on stream, and like a lot of people gave me shit and said that I was making things up and using like liberal feminist talking points. So I'm going to show you this. I don't know which one is like the most up to date. This looks like it's probably up to date. There are 2 kinds of marriages. Marriages that you can have with parental consent and marriages autonomously. So in this, I think this map is accurate, but there are several states. I think in Texas, they updated this recently with parental consent. But I remember my aunt got into a really heated argument once because the age of consent in Texas was like 8 years old with parental consent. And there are still states that exist today that have no minimum age. So you can get married in California with parental consent at any age. So, and then once you're legally married, by the way, once you're legally married, there is no such thing as statutory rape between a married couple. So if you did marry an 8-year-old and you had sex with an 8-year-old in California, it would not be considered statutory rape or child molestation because she is your spouse, and that is the exception to statutory rape rules. So how did she become a child bride? Her parent consented for a sum of money that she'd be married to an older male, and then when they had sex, it was legal because they were a couple. They were a married couple recognized by the state of Washington to be married. So there's no such thing as rape between them. And I was going to say in addition to that, so she was a part of a Hmong family that came over after the Vietnam War, and her mother couldn't handle her, so she gave her up to her aunt. Her aunt accepted a dowry of several $1,000s from a different Hmong family, and then offered her hand in marriage to a adult man. He was like 19 when she was like 11, I want to say. And he impregnated her and abused her throughout their marriage until she was 20 something. And then she left. And so I didn't make fun of him for being a stepdad too badly because her children are the product of child rape, basically, which is a very difficult situation to be in. And I just assume that the guy is probably very nice. I don't want to give him shit for that. As funny as it would be if it was Matt Jarbo and some random hoe, I feel kind of apprehensive about being too mean there, right? So this woman, she did something that she saw that they were trying to pass a bill to change the minimum age of marriage in Washington to be 18. So even with parental consent, there's no way to get married until you're an adult. And that would eliminate the pedophile loophole, basically, where if you marry a child with parental consent, you can have sex with children legally. So she said, you know what, I got away from my marriage 10 years ago, but I support this bill. So she became kind of a political advocate. And then she said, my good friend, Ian and Anisa, who were helping with this boxing tournament, they have a very large platform, and I need, I need as many people supporting it as possible to get it passed in state legislature. Maybe they'll give me a little bit of a platform. So she asked Anisa and IDubbbz, hey, would you please retweet this thing about child marriage being outlawed in Washington? And IDubbbz and Anisa left her on red. So why is it that this Hmong woman and her boxing husband are coming out to have a full frontal laugh along at their expense with H3? Is because Anisa and IDubbbz could not be bothered to give enough of a fuck about these people who donated their time to end child marriage and left them on fucking red. They didn't give them the bonus. They didn't give them the full price of the work they put in. They didn't give them a win. They didn't give them the advertising. They didn't even give them the shout outs in a couple tweets. And then they couldn't even be fucking bothered to help her pass a bill to end child marriage. That is how lazy, ungrateful, and just outright fucking shitty these retards are. And not just that, not just like moralistically bad people, they're dumb. It's dumb as fuck to take the charity of somebody and then spit in their fucking face like that. If you want to be like a Machiavellian abuser and manipulate people for your material advantage, you got to be smarter. You got to be at least pretend to be nice, at least pretend to give a shit, at least do the bare minimum to pretend that you give a fuck about their life and the shit they went through and so on and so forth. Anisa's too fucking dumb to even pretend to give a fuck about the people she's taking advantage of. That's how dumb she is. So that's what happened with them. And by the way, the real kicker is that I think that the bill that they asked for help with wasn't even the Washington state bill. You see how California is still gray? They wanted to pass a similar bill in California. And so she went down to California and she met with state lawmakers and did the whole song and dance and told all, like, the podcast is like 1/3 just her explaining how she fled Cambodia, and she was abandoned by her mother and sold by her aunt and was horrifically sexually, physically, and mentally abused for over a decade. How she had 2 children that were the product of spousal rape as a child. Just like this awful, grueling story. And she said that every time she met a lawmaker, she had to retell this story. And the bill didn't pass in California. And do you want to know why it didn't pass in California? Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood's lobbying group said that restricting child marriage could somehow jeopardize abortion rights. Theoretically, it might cause like a Puritan spiral in California. So Planned Parenthood lobbied against ending child marriage. And because they didn't have the publicity or the big names helping them in California, it didn't pass. And to this day, if you're a pedophile, you can go to California, and if you ask the right people, you can find an 8-year-old Mexican girl to buy for pennies on the fucking dollar. Then you can have sex with her as much as you like. And you know who's at fault for that? Ian and Anisa Jomha. No lie, no cap. That's a true story. So, Puritan spiral. I'm telling you, bro. Us moral fags will be vindicated by the passage of time. Moral fag bros, stay winning. And then, by the way, the this is apparently Hassan Orbiter. I didn't even listen to this, but I want to see what it says.
An adult bitch? Sorry about that. Ooh, sorry about that. That was fucked up. Sorry about that. You know, but you went from child bride to adult. Piece of shit. So fuck you and your story. Let's listen to 2
Anthony Sargon is his name, Lebanese. He looks like a Pajit. Hello, my good sow. It seems that you are advocating for disillusionment of child marriage. I ask that you do not redeem. In my country, it is very, very, very normal to marry a sweet little flower like the Prophet Muhammad married Aisha when she was 8 years old. And then he consummated the marriage at 9 years old. He redeemed the marriage. He redeemed her virginity at 9 years old, as is written in the Holy Quran. I ask that you do not, you damn dirty bitch pig mother chode, do not redeem child marriages. Thank you, Hassan. Very cool. Boy. Okay. So very quick updates, and then I can wrap up. I can do the super chats, and by the way, yes, I will go through and I'll find the Monero super chats I did not read last stream, so I will read those. Quick update: Synthetic Man accidentally showed his Patreon history on May 23rd. This is the first update that I had for the last stream that I had to sideline. Yeah, he was a subscriber to Fat Cat Gaming, a hefty harvest, a 3D big RPG made in Unreal Engine. So he was like a subscriber to a fat fetish furry thing. And then he was also a subscriber to Night Fox Works, Monster Girl adjacent visual novel with Five Nights at Freddy's furry SCP and femboy content. So Synthetic Man caught in 4K 3 weeks ago as a subscriber to Patreon for fat and furry fetish content. Then so there was a little war since Bossman Jack was arrested. I'll just play this real quick. Get this out. Bossman is arrested and will be going to jail forever and ever.
Oh shit, my dog. There we go. Oh my god. Guys. Oh shit. My fucking boys are here, guys. I fucking gotta go. I'm getting arrested, guys. Not kidding, guys. Oh my god, bro. I gotta go, guys. I love you guys. They're here, guys. I'm fucking having cold chills right now. Love you guys, man. I'll be back. Fuck, dude.
So he left. Then the rats started fighting amongst themselves with no boss man to oppress. They started to argue. Pickle Time was called a pedo protector, and then they struck down, or Pickle Faction struck down OG Fag. I have no idea who any of these people are, but if there's a reason why the N-word is in this video, and it's to stop these shitty rat channels. This is, by the way, I did not have anything to do with this. They just started putting the N-word in these videos themselves. Because OG Clay and the Pickle people were like stealing the clips from the Kiwi farms, not even giving credit. So the people in the thread got fed up and started watermarking the videos. And then, of course, the videos end up in the channels, and then they strike each other. And that's what they're doing now that Boss Man is incarcerated forever. You know what? Since I know a former elected Virginia prosecutor. Hold up. I feel like Boss Man's been in jail for too long. I gotta correct it. Yeah, it's me. Let the boss man. Let the boss man. Alright, chat. Now, if I go over to the community happenings thread and I refresh. Oh, what do you know? 21 days incarcerated. Boss Man Jack, free yet again. Released back into his parents' home just in time for Father's Day. So Boss Man's out, which means we're going to get more Gamba Sessions. I'm going to watch the Gamba Sesh, and you're going to lose the money, and my chat's going to go, no, I don't want to hear about how Boss Man's losing money again. Oy vey, it's so tired. It's too bad. Too bad. The failure, the weak will be weeded out, and the Boss Man strong will remain. I don't want to reward the people who've been spamming this because I know what they're doing. It's not clever. I guess I'll just cover this because why not? So I've played Cardposting a few times, and it's extremely obvious what this is. He has people on like his Discord giving him tips about how to go viral, and he's trying to do this by picking like a fight with me. And now they're spamming my chat because they, in order to cinch this and get their lolcow to get talked about more, they need me to talk about it. So I know what I'm not stupid. I know what's going on. Here's the video. What does Joshua Moon know about bronies? And the entire point of this 8-minute long video, I think, can probably be summed up in like the last 30 seconds of it. So the transcript. He talks to me directly, by the way. And it's like kind of performative. There we go. See, he's in a shed in Australia.
Ah, Mr. Moon, hello there. Sorry to interrupt your live stream and everything, but I was just hoping to ask you a few questions about bronies in particular, if you don't mind.
So. Even scripts it so that it logically it makes sense that it's an interruption of my stream chat. But like I know what's going on here. So he asked me a bunch of questions about bronies, and in particular, I think that this is here we go. Okay, this is his point. You ready? The audio mixing's way over the place. Randomly posted 2 hours after he had a gay breakup with his boyfriend, Perspicacity, that it's been fun. And a lot of people are like, no, Ralph, don't do it. Don't do it, Ralph. Look, this guy is a Derpy Hooves, My Little Pony fan, in 2025, our year of the Lord. And he's begging Ethan Ralph to not commit suicide.
Now, sir, when I heard that, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. You said that picture is a Derpy Hooves, I believe. Now see, I'm 25. I'm a grown man. I don't know what that means. Luckily, my wife, Mrs. Cardlumbo, well, she knows this stuff.
You're not married.
She's the same age as
You're not married.
So on account of her having been a 10-year-old girl in 2010, she knows this My Little Pony stuff. Makes sense. That's about the only reason someone would know this stuff. Unless... Well, anyways, she tells me this Derpy Hooves is a My Little Pony character. And not just any character, but a fairly out-of-the-way background character at that.
If you don't know, Derpy Hooves is the fan name for a pony in My Little Pony who has weird eyes. Like she's cross-eyed. And I know this because she's probably the most popular character besides the main four. And I know this because I'm a 32-year-old man, which means I do know what My Little Pony is, because in my era, it was a weird flash phenomena where a bunch of adult men decided to watch My Little Pony. And then, like anime faggots, they decided to post absolutely everywhere about My Little Pony and dissect every frame of this fucking kids show as if it was the most brilliant thing ever. I once had a girl, and I was trying to get laid, so I entertained this. I know much more about My Little Pony than I should as a consequence of this. They're called Pegasus sisters, by the way, when they're women. So this Pegasus sister once shared with me a honest-to-God economic journal article written at the peak of this. And it was a deep dive exploratory thesis about the economy of My Little Pony and how the way that there's an episode in particular where Applejack, who's the best pony in case you're wondering, Applejack is working a farm, and her farm is an apple orchard, so she has to collect apples. So the way that she collects apples ordinarily is she will go up to a tree and then use her back hooves to kick the tree, and the apples will fall down into a basket. And that is how she collects apples. And the thesis of this economic journal, which I read in full, was about how the economy of My Little Pony would have those who have and those who have nots. Because Applejack must till the earth, honestly, using her kicks to collect apples. But in that episode, because she falls behind on work, her friends help. And the flying ponies and the magic ponies collect the apples much, much faster than she does ordinarily. Which means that she does this slave labor without any kind of efficiency. And the high-tier magic ponies and flying ponies could theoretically do that work much faster, but choose instead to have slave earth ponies to do it for them. So it was kind of like a weird explore. I don't know why the fuck I remember this, but I remember reading this entire fucking thing and thinking it was the weirdest shit ever. So I remember many years later about how the magic ponies and the flying ponies and the inequality that was inherent with them having special abilities, but the earth ponies not having any special abilities, was a reflection on our society and the haves and have-nots. How the Indians are the earth ponies and the white people are the Pegasuses and the flying ponies and the unicorns. And then I think he says something at the end. Has a little.
Since it seems like I might have caught you in something embarrassing here, how about you make your confession now? And it'd save the fellas over at the base department a lot of time figuring out whether it needs to be wall or rope this time.
Threatening me. They're saying that once they know about my dark pony secret, I will be forced to face the wall. Cardposting has outed me. I'm sorry. I come from 4chan. I come from a very strange era where people watch My Little Pony. And like with anime, I know a lot about it just by osmosis. And as a person who enjoys music, I happen to know about pony music as well, against my will. Here we go. By Ken Ashcourt, by the way. He's the guy that did the Andrew Dobson song I'm such a fan of. Can I get him to dance? Come on, Card, dance for me. Oh, he's too static. I can't have him dance, chat. There's another one called Discord, which is about the weird Chimera thing from the show, but I always imagine it's about the actual app. I once had a belief, by the way, that Discord, the app, was named after, because Discord came out around the exact same time that My Little Pony was super popular. And I've always believed that Discord was named after the Chimera from My Little Pony. And I actually don't know if that's true. I've heard that it's not true, but I remember very distinctly that one of the original developers were discussing about how they named it after Discord from My Little Pony. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I remember hearing that. Brendo's deep. I don't know what to tell you. I'm from 4chan. I'm sorry if that scares you. I know everything, though. One assumes it's a reference to the word. It came out literally at the exact same time, and the first place I ever saw Discord being advertised was MLP on 4chan. I think it is named after the My Little Pony show. And they can deny it all they fucking want, but I know them. Okay, I know what evil lurks in the hearts of men, chat. As a true moral fag, I know all sorts of evil. I went to the word. No, I didn't go to A either. I just know things. Okay. All right.